Hey, what's going on, everybody? David Noe with Speak Easy HR, presented by Payroll Partners. We are at episode 7. It's September 16th, and I have a great guest with me today and an awesome topic that'll hit a lot of people in a managerial role, but also that aren't in a managerial role that might want to learn about how to be a brilliant manager one day. So, Jill McCarthy, welcome.
Hi, David. It is so great to be here. And I love the intro. I know I was off camera, but I'm doing a little dance behind.
There you
So
go.
it's just such a warm, welcome feeling to be here.
Yeah. And we had cross paths back, a while back, kind of my first job in HR and benefits. And so when I started kind of making a list of people I knew that were in training, development, I kind of had your name down on the list, and here we are having you on in mid-September. So I'm really excited. We've got some stuff to get to before we jump into the topic. We'll kind of have you introduce yourself a little bit just so the listeners can hear about you. We are live on YouTube and LinkedIn. So if you are on watching live, feel free to comment where you're watching. Any questions for Jill along the way, I'll be seeing the comments coming up. So feel free to engage with us. We do like that, people coming on and talking and asking questions as we go, because we've got some questions to talk about. We've got a great topic to get into, but, really want to find out if people do have questions about this topic and trying to help them, trying to help maybe their colleagues and try to get them to a better place in a potential manager role. So, Jill, I have 2 questions for you before we get into this.
All righty.
Easy HR is presented by Payroll Partners. Do you have a quirky payroll process, or is your current provider hogging all of your time? Because if they are, it's probably time to learn more about Payroll Partners and what we can do. We have a great team of payroll architects, we call them, and payroll engineers. And this, everybody watching, is our newest and latest and greatest animal for our conferences. Last year we had a cow. Our theme was move to Payroll Partners. And this year it's the pig is your current payroll process hogging all your time, and whatever other fun pig themed questions. But if you go to the SHRM conference in Ohio, you will potentially be able to get one of these if you spin our fabulous wheel at our booth. So people going to Ohio SHRM, stop by our booth and meet our team at Payroll Partners. We do have a couple of people watching Jill. We have Jill from South Carolina. We have Jessica in Columbus, Ohio. And then we have, looks like one of your cousins from
Yeah, from Virginia.
There we go. So it's great that people are on watching live. Again, feel free to ask questions along the way. We've got another one from Arkansas. So we've got South Carolina in the house. We've got Ohio in the house. We've got Virginia, Arkansas. So that is awesome to see some people in here watching live. So again, as we get into this, bring up questions for Jill. I want to really get into her topic a little bit. But before we get into that, Jill, are you ready for the world famous envelope icebreaker question?
I am. I've been preparing.
You have the questions. Favorite number 1 through 15. You didn't give me any other questions. So the ones that you have seen, they are in these envelopes. So
it's episode 7. I think we go with 7.
All right. Episode 7, envelope 7. Here we go. What is the question? We have, when you were in grade school, what did you want to be when you grew up?
This was an interesting one. I had to really think about it because I went back and forth. It definitely was not going to be a coach and consultant.
No?
No, it wasn't. But it was all about helping people.
Okay.
So I originally wanted to be an emergency room doctor.
Okay.
So really helping people in need. So, and I guess that's really what I do best now is when there is crisis and chaos. I like to come in and bring clarity and some calmness.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. You want to do one more?
Go for it. I'm ready.
What's the next number? 1 through 15 other than 7?
11.
11. I feel like the people on here have picked the same the same numbers, and I try to move the questions around. So let's see if I did it. Okay. If money and time were no object, what would you be doing right now?
You know what? I would be doing the exact same thing I'm doing.
Yeah.
But traveling a lot more around the world. So
Yeah.
I would, we might be doing this call when I'm in Portugal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would be traveling all over the world, and I'd have a different home bases set up so I can communicate still with all my clients.
Yeah. No, I love that. Definitely want to travel more. I was out of town with my wife this past weekend. We were in a cabin in the woods. We were kayaking, and it was just like so relaxing to be kind of unplugged a little bit. So if you haven't done that lately, I would definitely suggest trying to go unplug somewhere that you don't have to be near your phone and just kind of get away for a little bit. All right. Lightning round, Jill.
Okay.
Lightning round. First job where you had taxes deducted, and then your first HR job or a job that kind of fits your career path that you've been in.
All righty. W-2. Perkins Restaurant.
Perkins. Ooh.
Yep.
Okay.
Big, huge flag. The graveyard shift in college. So it was 11 o'clock at night until 7 o'clock in the morning. And I slung a lot of coffee and creamers and made a lot of milkshakes.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've done the restaurant gigs. I've not done like the late shift. I was in high school and worked at Applebee's and Ruby Tuesdays and those fun places. But yeah, Perkins never got there. So
yeah.
And first job in like an HR kind of role.
It was really coming into employee benefits. So that's where I kind of cut my teeth into this world.
Yeah.
So I worked at a carrier. I worked at an agency. I've worked at trade organizations. And I also partner with a good dear friend of mine, and we do HR tech work.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's kind of where I started too. I mean, we were in benefits, learning how businesses had to operate and manage people and hire people. And I'm like, sounds like an interesting kind of piece of the puzzle when you talk about running a business. And part of running a business is hiring people to be managers, right? So that's kind of what our topic's going to be about today is the brilliant manager. And there's no perfect manager. There's no person that's going to handle every situation perfect. But when you talk about being a brilliant manager, when I asked you about what topic are you going to bring to the show, you said the brilliant manager. So, having a topic like this, what makes you passionate about working with managers?
So with my company at Adventure Bright, I do VIP coaching. I also do consulting, and it's a mix of team development with business strategy and operational strategy to make sure that whatever we're coaching on and consulting on, we actually have like a path that we're going somewhere, that we're doing something. I am a Gallup certified strength coach. So Clifton Strengths is a tenant, a foundation of my company. And I've actually been working with Gallup since 2012.
Okay.
And just really that's part of the key foundation of what do you do best? Who are you as a person? And how do you show up at different places? And so in my many years of, actually I was calculating, I was like, all right, I've been a manager for 35 years in some aspect. Like I used to like manage my cousins during like a family play. So
I love it.
And there is, I think managers are taken for granted.
Yep.
And there is a lot of classes and attention given to other departments and so, or other areas. And I've always had a fondness for managers. I loved being one. I loved having a team.
Yeah.
And so I developed a program to really help make them shine.
Yeah. So that's one of my questions when I get interviewed or when I ask people and I give them some tips and advice on interview questions. I always say, you're going into an interview, they're considering you as part of their team, and they're going to ask you questions. Some of them are just kind of the basics, kind of, whatever. But when someone is being interviewed and they ask the person, who's my manager going to be and what's their management style? And if the person interviewing them is not the manager.
Finding a great career has always been a challenge. But today, with the massive changes underway in just about every sector of the economy, in just about every country in the world, finding a great new career is even more challenging. And if you're a student, recent graduate, or someone else early in their career, it's even harder for you because you just don't have the experience that those who might be 10, 20, 30 years older than you have. The answer? The podcast. From dorms to desks. A podcast by College Recruiter job search site, where every week we take a deep dive into a topic specifically of interest to candidates who are early in their careers and looking for a great part-time, seasonal, internship, or other entry-level job.
Hopefully, at some point, they meet the manager that they're going to be potentially managed by. And a lot of managers can't even answer that question.
Yeah.
And so I think when you think of a manager and also like why people are leaving jobs right now, is it the company? If they love the company and they love the pay and the work-life balance and whatever, but when it comes to management, right? Like I've left jobs because of how I've managed or how I've been managed. And I'm sure a lot of people have.
And that's usually, whether you are a manager or your individual contributor, that is your life. That's your lifeline. That is your immediate, connection to other departments, to other opportunities, particularly if you are starting off, at this top of your career.
Yeah.
And because of COVID and this and hybrid and just the different shift of the workforce, which I think change is inevitable and we have to figure it out. But we are missing too that I call it learning by osmosis. Some of those things in the office, and like David, you and I were in an office together. It's like you watch certain people walk into a room. You didn't even have to talk to them. But you watch their composure. You saw how they directed the meeting. There's a lot of glass offices, and we are missing some of that training, or managers right now are getting so squeezed to not just take care of their people, that's what it's about, that team, but, you got to deliver on the outcomes.
Yep.
And, they are just being stretched so thin, so they don't even have time to sharpen their skills or to dive in and, have those regular one-on-one cadence check-ins with their team.
Yeah. And your program, so part of the training programs that you offer with Adventure Bright, the Brilliant Manager program is one of them. And at the end of the show, we are going to release a secret Speakeasy HR code for people to unlock a special discount with your team and your program. Yeah. So when you think the Brilliant Manager program, and if someone does sign up and go through that, they're going to learn a whole lot more about it. But, can you walk us through some of those core elements that you are going to kind of learn through that program, just so people think like, okay, I feel like I'm doing well in some of these core elements.
So really there's like 6 modules in the program, and we always start off with, who are you? Mm-hmm. Like, who are you? Who are you with your strengths, with your blind spots, with your bright spots? You know, do you lean into this like analytical way of thinking or strategic, or are you a people person? So really having that understanding of who you are, because at the end of the day, that's who you're always going to be.
Yeah.
So once you have that identified and really can own it, then you can know how you want to lead, where you want to lean into. And so then the second component is connecting. So once we figured out who we are, our learning styles, our communication styles, now let's look at our team. So who do I have on my team? How do each one of them, what are their strengths? And not just even that, taking it a step further and saying, okay, how does Sue like to be motivated? What motivates her? You know, if I'm going to look at David, does he like public recognition or private recognition?
Yep.
You know, what are those nuances of my team so that I know that I can get the best out of them and that we can have like a ton of fun? So I've developed actually a connection grid that I walk through my managers just to kind of help them put a framework. And however they lead is how they deliver that connection grid. Maybe it's in conversation. Maybe it's, you know, sending a Friday email, like a little fun fact about somebody. But it doesn't matter how you get the information, just as long as that you are connecting deeply, having an understanding with your team.
And that's, I think, one that probably changes the most. When you talk about connection, you're not going to manage the same group of people the entire time you're at that company. And if you have a position open and you hire somebody, that the dynamic of that team is going to change. And you might have a team that's easily managed. It's the you know, the managers that have a great team and they're self-sufficient kind of team members and they all interact well. It's easy to manage those people.
Yes.
It's the people that really bring down morale, are negative, just are the ones to gossip and talk about things that are just distractions and stuff like that, that just really disconnect the team, right? So I think that one is super important, to find that connection with the team members, right? I mean,
and I've worked with a couple of different, you know, I've worked with a variety of individuals at all different levels of an organization and different industries. And this woman that I was working with, she'd been a manager for 25 years, you know, in her industry, and life has changed.
Yeah.
And so her team now is a lot of Gen Z. So there's a generational difference. And she's also dealing with hybrid. So all of her tried and true techniques that she's familiar with have all shifted.
Yep.
And so we worked through like, how do you get that shine back again? You know, what do you need to do? So this is an area that connection piece was huge for her.
Yeah, I can't imagine. And that's, I put this up. I read this all the time. Champions adjust, y'all. That's, you know, to adjust in a position, and you've got to be ready to make that change and get out of your comfort zone and try to find a way to be better in that role and be a better version of yourself. And so, yeah, connection, I think is super important. So, okay, what's the next one?
Then we move on to collaborating. So once we all know who we are, then how do we work together?
Yeah.
Like, you know, not everybody can't do it all. You know, we all have our special gifts and we have our special talents. So if I'm somebody that likes to network and be out on the stage and be in front, I might need to have my team behind me to give me the story.
Yeah.
Or, you know, somebody sets the plan and you've got your accountability person. So how do you work with your team? How do you collaborate? And then not just collaborating internally, how do you then collaborate with other departments? So if you're marketing, how do you collaborate with sales? If you're account management, how do you collaborate maybe with marketing or leadership? Or maybe you have a financial department that you have to collaborate with. How can you take that? And it's really from the leader leading that team into those discussions.
So the next one, you said there were 6 core group, right?
Mhm.
So collaboration, what from a collaboration standpoint, when you have a group that is, let's say, all in office, that you see each other every day, um, what would be some of the key tips for a manager to maybe focus more on collaboration for the next 2 or 3 months? Is there something that is like,
So
here's the
with their
step
team or collaborating with an external team?
with their team? So
With
if
their
they
team?
feel like collaboration is not going well and they're trying to find the right approach to collaboration, is there like a first step that person should really try to focus on that they can try with their team?
Get very clear on what you're collaborating about.
Okay.
So, very clear expectation. What is the objective? And then, what does success look like? Like, are you trying to hit a goal? Are you trying to reduce X, Y, or Z? Like, it has to be very, very clear. And then once you have clarity on the goal, and then what is the expectation of the timeline, the resources that you have? So be very clear as that manager to give all the facts that you know about that strategy and have it open, because we're not mind readers. I mean, we all, I forget things. And
Yep.
so having that open door to not just maybe in that moment, but say, you know what? We're talking about this on a Monday. I do want any questions. Think about it. Come back to me by the end of the day tomorrow if
Yep.
you have any questions, so I can make sure that we are clear on this. That's where I would begin.
Okay. No, that's great. All right. What's the next core element?
Communicating.
Communicating.
Mm-hmm. So this is really where that knowing yourself as a manager is key. So how do you like to communicate? How do you like to be communicated to? And then, because you're the leader of that, of your team, how does your team like to be communicated to? So if I'm just a bullet person, but my team really kind of likes some softening of the edges or a little more context, then that's my job to give that to them.
Yeah.
So really having that, and then two, also setting the stage for expectations of communication expectations. So if we are going to have a lightning round brainstorming, we have to all respect everybody's opinions,
Right.
voice at the table, and not derail somebody. So really having that, managing of that communication in a meeting or in a setting.
Okay. No, that's awesome. Communication, I think, is going to be one of the more interesting components to management, I think, as we enter into the next 5 to 10 years, and really how people communicate in person, in email. I get emails that are so long, and I'm like, this could have been a 5-minute conversation on the phone or an in-person meeting. I know people sometimes don't like meetings, and it's like, that could have been an email. So it's that right approach, right? It's knowing what the team wants and how it's effective for that team when you're managing them. And sometimes you just can never please somebody. So if people don't read their emails, all you can do is share the information, deadlines, clear communication with any projects or anything going on that they need to know as a team member. And it's their job as part of the team to understand what is expected of them. So I think just the people coming into the workforce that really might struggle with in-person communication in front of somebody else versus being on a phone or being on a desktop, laptop, whatever, is going to be somewhat of a challenge. So I think if you haven't created more along the lines of communication for younger generations, it might be a good topic to offer in the future. So
I'm passionate about that one. I actually did a Disrupt HR on communication interrupted. Yes. And I think too is also understanding if a mode of communication isn't working, when do you pivot?
Right.
I know Jessica on my team, we'll text each other and then it's like, are you around? Yeah, I'm around. So we pick up the phone real quick. So, it's just having that common courtesy too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And don't even get me started on, I have a 9-year-old son, so there's a lot of new lingo and that it'll eventually goes everywhere else. So even what words mean.
Yeah. It's interesting. And, not that we'll get off too much of the topic, but like management, being a manager and being a father and being a parent, it's similar because, you are managing a person and trying to raise them. You're not paying them. You're giving them a place to stay and giving them food and, paying for education, whatever. But like, you are trying to like interact with somebody that's using technology that you didn't have. So it's really hard for somebody that's maybe in their 40s to try to really relate to somebody that's younger, that's 20 years younger than them. So in the workforce, really having that clear communication is so critical. And, I think to be a really good manager, obviously there's some people that might have to be micromanaged a little bit, but if you can avoid being that kind of like helicopter,
I think though that's where that cadence comes in and that communication cadence.
Yeah.
So in order to give agency to the team, it is that weekly check-in and always knowing that there is that open door or open chat line or that, hey, I might not in the office, but I will get back to you within X amount of hours.
Yeah.
So that it creates less confusion.
I've heard this and I've had other people come on and talk about this one-on-one meeting with your team. And we do them internally where I work at Payroll Partners. And it's easier when you have maybe 4 or 5 direct reports. When you have 30, it might be a little more challenging, but explain to me and the folks listening, how important it is to have that one-on-one meeting on a consistent basis with your team. And, why do you feel like that's so important?
Well, management I believe I said this, is all about the people.
Yeah.
So it is about people connection.
Yeah.
It is understanding what motivates them. How do we get the best out of them, or even what frustrates them. So when I led my team, we had a weekly check-in meeting and I always started it off with, tell me something good. It didn't matter. It didn't matter what, it didn't have to be professional or anything like that. I'm like, tell me something good. And it was
Isn't
a nice
song. Isn't that a song? Tell me something.
I think you're right. I'll have to play that. That could be my walk-up.
There you go.
When I left, they were still doing that practice.
Really?
And so it just eased them in and it creates a bond.
Yeah.
So it is those pauses that are in between. Yeah. It is the little chit chat. It's the hi, how are you? Thank you for the great restaurant. Like, it is those things. And then you can make sure that you are on task with, and I always recommend have a straight up agenda. So everybody knows what it's that you have, that you're prepared for.
Yeah.
And that if there's any parking lot issues, then you can take care of them later.
Yeah.
And also always give notes. Rotate it. Have somebody take the notes, put it on a rotating document, but just so that it is documented. So you're not having a meeting just to have a meeting.
Yeah.
And sometimes those sessions are so important for a manager to translate the strategy from leadership into real actionable items that can get executed on. Like, what do I need to do? And then also to be able to be a safe space and have the team grumble, ask questions, poke holes, just so that you're really having that, you can be that bridge.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. When you were talking about, you know, when the managers have to collaborate, whether it's internally and working with other departments, you know, that's where HR plays such a big role, right? Like
Mhm.
HR, they connect with all of the different uh, work groups and departments and teams, and the first line of communication for employees, I feel like, should be to their direct manager when they've got a problem, when they've got something that they need to discuss. You know, I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm just going to go to HR, they're going to fix it all, and it's like, no, like we're not going to fix everything. We're
You're
gonna
not
try to
a
be. Huh?
magician? You're not a magician?
Man, I need like a magic wand or something. I've seen people present and like they've got the magic wand and it's like, wouldn't it be great if you just have this? Like, see you later, Betty. You're gone. Like it's just like those kinds of things that people don't really understand what HR does and how they do work with the managers to support them, but also the employees. So it's like, you know, if you are not a manager and you want to be a manager one day, like look around and really find the people that are in a manager role to maybe try to, you know, ask them to be a mentor for you. You know,
Absolutely.
I think having a mentor in a you know, career when you are, you know, trying to um, really progress in your career, having a mentor, somebody that can really give you those pointers in real time, in real life situations, I think is critical. So, um,
Because you're using their experiences.
yeah,
We don't
exactly.
have to reinvent the wheel, you
Yeah,
know. I mean, some of the same problems that that you experience now, David, is probably nothing different than it was 20 years ago.
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
and you know, it's just how can we deal with it, listen to both sides,
Yep.
come up with a solution, and collaborate, communicate, and figure it out together.
Yeah. So you were discussing just, you know, management and trying to manage the different pitfalls that might come up. You know, what are some of those common pitfalls, let's say for a newer manager, you know, when they are transitioning from just more of a, you know, individual contributor,
Mhm.
especially when it's in the same team or those dynamics, you know, what are some of those common pitfalls that you can try to explain a little more?
Well, one off the bat is really when I work with people, I'm like, did you seek this position out
Yeah.
or were you kind of told to get this position?
Mm,
And I think that's where too a lot in career development is it's the next step. You become a people manager and then
yeah.
you pass on through that and then you move on to X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of treated as this like sometimes transient role, which
Yeah.
we know is so important
Yep.
because people leave their managers and not their companies. But really having that understanding of when you are transitioning out, what are you leaving behind from your old position? So, because you can't do it all. And then what are the expectations coming into the new position? So, getting really clear and when does that transition occur?
Yeah.
And then, as you said, to make sure that you are, it doesn't even have to be in your company, it can be in any, you know, organization or coach or consultant to really reach out and have that mentor, to have that person to say, you know what, I'm going to just be really real about my problem right now and not to be judged.
Yeah.
Because they're all in a learning state. You know, they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And as far as if you're coming up from the same team, there does need to be some sort of boundaries.
Yeah.
Because not everything can be discussed as if we were going out, you know, for coffee or cocktails all the time. There
Yeah.
has to be certain, I would say, firewalls to be put
Yeah.
up. And to clearly say it, and the other person should be respectful of that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is, I think, something when you were talking about people are just put into a role. I mean, a lot of people are really good at managing processes and managing projects and getting tasks done on time and meeting deadlines and all that stuff. And then it's like, oh, who should we promote to this role? Because we need a manager to manage now. We need a manager to kind of oversee all of these projects. And it's like, okay, well, who's the best fitting person for it? And a lot of times it's not the person that they pick. So then it's like you're setting them up for failure when you put them into that role. And it's kind of like you've got to do that upfront work for that person to be like, hey, here's our program as a younger, inexperienced manager, like having something that those people have to go through. And just, they're not going to learn it all by training either. I feel like a lot of people that have become a brilliant manager or a really successful manager, they've learned by making mistakes. They've learned by situations that they just can't learn from a book or training. But a lot of the training, like that you present and talk to, it's giving them those competencies to focus on, and those core elements that you were talking about, and really just figuring out for themselves, like, okay, I really do not know my identity or my communication or collaboration styles. So it's like you really need to self-reflect on that stuff. So, it's really hard to just put someone in a manager role, but everybody starts somewhere.
Gotta start somewhere.
And if you have a company that really invests money and into their team, that they will give them the proper training, they'll give them the proper support. And if that person doesn't work out, then they're back to square one with somebody else that may not even be as good as the other person. So a lot of it does fall back on the organization and how they view their management team, how they view HR, how that collaboration with all of those different departments work. And so I've seen that, and I think it really does help when you have a team of managers internally at an organization that really can kind of bounce ideas off each other and really have that, interaction as a manager team, because they're the ones that are going to hopefully share ideas and like figure out like everybody's situation and try to help each other out as more of kind of a resource group internally. So, I think that's super important too. And it all depends on the company, and it depends on if they're virtual, if they're in person. It's much different when you're managing people virtually, and instead of being in in an office where you're managing them. So I know there are still a lot of companies that do that. So
and because they're in the fifth element of the program is creating. So kind of what you were saying, David, is that I help them with a manager's roadmap.
Yeah.
So it is 6 months. We're not looking at something that's a year or 3 years, but a really 6-month focus on what it is that they want to drill down on.
Yeah.
So I have a new manager right now that I'm working with, coming from an individual contributor role into managing. She actually has somebody in the office and also somebody remote. And so her purpose right now is building that team connection. So she is focused on, okay. And then once getting through that, there's action items, timelines put to it so that you can say, all right, I have made strides in this.
Yeah.
I am working on this. And the last part of it is celebrating. So taking that manager's roadmap and really sharing it with the VP of operations, whoever the sponsor was in the program. And so that they're aware of really what that person was doing and that what they're going to focus is going to be on for the next 6 months. And then I also come in 6 months later, 2 times to just check in.
Yeah.
So how's it going? What's going on? So it's that breathable document and that it's there in front of them and that they're working through it. And it wasn't just, it was just a regular old class.
So the celebration part, do the people come up with the ways to celebrate? Is that something that you tell them, or how creative can people get with how they celebrate?
Well, I think sky's the limit if you want to get creative. Absolutely. Yeah. The most important thing is that it's the manager presenting their map to their leaders.
Yeah.
And that really that takes them to it's that self-personal accountability of I'm owning this. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do over the next 6 months, and I'm asking you for your support. And that celebration of.
So you were talking about Gallup and you're a certified coach for Gallup. So explain to people that may not know what that is. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of it, but what is Gallup, and what does that mean to be a certified coach with Gallup?
So Gallup is a huge organization, tons of data. I
Yep.
am a Gallup certified Clifton strengths coach. So
Okay.
Don Clifton, about I think it was about almost 25 years ago, developed this assessment, all rooted in positive psychology. And his idea was that he put out there, what would happen if we focus on what is right with people?
Yep.
So that is his premise. And he interviewed thousands and thousands of people and developed this assessment. And it ranks 34 talent themes. The themes could be ideation, responsibility, activator, relator, intellection. So the person that's taking the assessment through, questions, the 34 report comes out ranked. So you really, at the end of the day, though, you focus on your top 10. That's your zone of genius. Those are the things that come natural to you. Like swimming is natural to Michael Phelps, acting is natural to, Meryl Streep. So it's really having that identification. And most people know, like, oh yeah, I am good at that. Well, do more of it. And the stuff that you're not that good at, don't go near it, or get an accountability partner to help you with it.
Yeah.
Like I reached out to a colleague. I have great ideas and strategic plan. I just need that like motivation of like, okay, due date here.
Yep.
So I reached out to somebody and it was a really important project. And she kind of just kept me on track. She didn't like overmanage me or anything, but she was my accountability. And she was like, today's the day the email's going to go out. And it was like, okay, I'm ready. So she was like a little bit of my partner in crime.
Yeah. And it's probably hard to get, it's probably impossible to get a job or career that fits all those 10 strengths, right? It's like, obviously you want to find something that you enjoy doing, that you're good at, that you can make money at doing, right? Like that's a big reason why people work, is to earn money and make a living, and, at some point stop working as much and, try to retire and, but it's like, your strengths might change, your weaknesses might change. So the strengths finder, 10 strengths. If you can find a job that fits most of those, great, but
it's how to deploy them, So
Yeah.
if you are a person who's really, relator is my top number one, and that's all about connecting with people.
Yeah.
So if, or you can find out too, it identifies when you are kind of stuck. I was dealing with somebody during COVID, and I was coaching him, and he had all these like high influencing themes. Like all he needed to do was be around people, and he couldn't. So he was frustrated. So, how you deal with some of those things. And it's the nuances, going back to communication.
Yeah.
You have a lot of high strategic people on your team. It might be beneficial to send the agenda out ahead of time.
Yep.
So they have time to think about it, process it.
Yeah, absolutely. If we have any questions out there for people watching, it is definitely good to see any questions that someone might have while watching this live. It will be on demand as well. So it will be obviously available after today to listen on demand. But if you have any questions for Jill, please bring them into the chat so we can get to them. But just to wrap up, Jill, what's your vision for the future of management? And, what's the first step for someone to become, that brilliant manager?
The vision that I see is that we are giving more love and attention to managers, and giving them that space too, and that freedom, like you said, to maybe like not know it all.
Yeah.
And that there is spaces for them that they can come and just relax or be authentic and share issues or problems that they have. Yeah. First step, I would say, is I have a fun masterclass that I'm launching for the rest of the year, and it's called Path. And I would say that is the first step.
Yep.
So it is, you either choose October. Oh, yes, there's
Pull
my
that up
secret
for
code.
you.
Secret
So-
code is PATH99.
Yep.
And this is all about purpose, action, time, and honor. So it's going to be 3 sessions in either October, November, or December, and really helping people take that first step in identifying where they are right now and where do they want to go.
Yeah. So if you are watching live, the QR code is up on the screen. If you use that secret code PATH99, you will get that $99 off. So if you are looking at this training and thinking that this might be something that fits your situation, please scan this QR code, get in touch with Jill. You can reach out to her at Adventure Bright, or connect with her on LinkedIn if you are not. But yeah, I think that is a great offer, Jill. And I think a lot of people, should take advantage of that. And it seems like this is a really good opportunity for people that are in a manager role to really increase their skill set and try to help their team around them and try to help themselves be that brilliant manager. So I'm going to just check and see if we had any other questions come up. Sometimes this thing is lagging, but no, I think this was really good to dive into, Jill. And I think there's, again, a lot of opportunity for people. So if you are not watching live, you can contact Jill at Adventure Bright, making sure that you have that availability to connect with her and her team. So anything else that you want to add, Jill?
Just keep shining bright, I would say. Keep searching if you're a manager, and you're feeling frustrated. There's help out there. Talk to somebody, and there's skills that we can help you with. So, and to keep being more you and leaning to who you are.
Yeah.
So, and managing the way that is the best for you.
Yep. No, this has been great, Jill. I really appreciate you coming on. Hopefully you had fun talking a little bit. And
super fun.
Yeah, this was great. And your dog didn't interrupt us. So how about that? You were so worried about the dog, and it's just.
It's mail time. I showed David beforehand. I have a huge thing of treats underneath the desk here. So, happy wonders, so nice.
That's great.
Well, David, thank you so much. This was wonderful.
Yeah, this has been great. I really appreciate your input and your insight about the Brilliant Manager. So we'll talk again soon, Jill. But until then, have a great rest of your day. And we'll talk to everybody. Oh, see? Couldn't get through it all. Man, I tell you. That's awesome. Well, thanks, Jill.
Bye, David. Thank you.
Have a good one.